Imagine choosing to dive back into the chaos, heartbreak, and pain of human life over and over again. It sounds insane, right? Well, the New Age and many Eastern philosophies tell us that it is not insane and that we make the choice to reincarnate because suffering is the soul's shortcut to spiritual growth. Well, what if I told you that this was a lie and the reason that we do reincarnate is much darker and more complex? If you are new here, my name is Shauna and I created this channel to inspire and uplift you. Growing up, I was often seen as the black sheep by those around me, and no matter what I did, I was always considered a bit of an outcast. Until one day I decided to stop trying to fit into a mold that wasn't meant for me, and I started to see my individuality as a gift. And I transformed my life through taking my spiritual beliefs seriously. And now I'm dedicated to helping others who may feel like outsiders find their strength and live freely. So if that sounds interesting to you, subscribe now. It is just one button. And you can also check out my Patreon and my members channel for videos that are too spicy for YouTube. Eastern philosophies and the New Age teaches us to discipline ourselves against any conscious desire for pleasure and success. And they do this by encouraging us to solely focus on becoming one with universal awareness or God. Now, it's interesting to note that these beliefs flourish in areas where wealth and abundance are harder to come by. And the predominant religious beliefs in these regions encourage their followers to reject material possessions and accept a fate that is less than what they deserve. Consciousness always desires significance and recognition and is trying to achieve that through us. We all want to be valued, we all want to live comfortably, and we all want to be able to afford whatever we want and need. But certain New Age philosophies and religious beliefs teach us that this is bad, and it encourages us to rid ourselves of the ego before it has the chance to desire such things. The belief in reincarnation, the traditional belief in reincarnation, ties into this. And traditionally, reincarnation is the belief that we choose to come to Earth specifically to suffer and go through extreme pain so that we can learn some unspeakable lesson that will make all of our suffering and difficulties in life somehow worth it. Now, I've read a lot about reincarnation and past life regressions and NDEs, and from what I have researched, reincarnation does happen. But while I was doing this research, I would always ask myself, why on earth would someone choose to reincarnate into poverty or war? And I found the answer, and I explain that answer in this video here and this video here. And basically, we are very powerful souls, and less powerful lower level gods use manipulation to encourage us to incarnate so that we can give all of our power to them. Morpheus explains this really well in the Matrix movie, where he says that the Matrix is a little bit like a computer generated dream world, and it is built to keep us under control so that it can change a human being into a battery. We are eternal spiritual beings who signed a dodgy contract, I guess, and got trapped in a toxic cycle. There is no exit button, if you catch my drift. And this is because this reality is filled by negativity, and negativity produces more negativity. And to put an end to our own existence, we would have to be in a very negative state. And that negativity will basically send a signal to the creators of this world. And what they will do is they will put us back in the same or a very similar situation to whatever we were trying to escape from. And that is because the creators of this world thrive on misery and they want as much of it as possible. So that's our situation. We are in this trap and we have two options. Number one is that we can suffer more. Or number two is that we can outsmart the system. We outsmart the system by coming to learn the truth. The truth can theoretically be found in religions, but many spiritual religions feed into this concept of keeping the soul going round in circles. And the creators do this because they want to overcomplicate the truth to make it as hard as possible for souls to escape. So what they do is they spread the truth out across different faiths. And, you know, we've got slivers of truth over here and slivers of truth over here and slivers of truth over there. And what we are told when we are born is that, okay, you are this religion, you are that religion, and you have to believe this. So what many people do is they grow up only learning bits of the truth. And, you know, a friend of mine said to me, the only thing worse than a full lie is a half truth. So the way to avoid these half truths is that we have to educate ourselves as much as possible and find out what all of these religions and all of these spiritual practices are really trying to teach us. Now, another truth of this reality is that no other person can tell you the truth. And that is because this reality is set up very much like a first-person perspective computer game. So you are the main character, and me and other side characters in your reality cannot give you the key to beat the game. But we can give you the puzzle pieces to put together. But, you know, ultimately, that is your job. So with that being said, let me give you another puzzle piece and show you another way of looking at reincarnation and the reincarnation trap. And I'm going to tell you the story of Sophia as the sage. Sophia is the goddess of wisdom, and she was born into a life of bliss in a heavenly reality called the Pleroma. And when she was born, she took 7 steps, and a lotus plant, which is a symbol for enlightenment, grew up from the ground behind her after each step. And it was because of this that it was prophesied that when she grew older, she would become a warrior and a high priestess. The monad, who is the one true God and the father of everything, foresaw the possibility of suffering in worlds beyond the Pleroma, and he tried to protect all of his children, but specifically his daughter Sophia, by confining her to the realm of the gods, because he did not want her to know pain or poverty or sickness or anything like that. Sophia was promised to the Christ, and they were supposed to wait for the monad's permission to create children and other angels together in the heavens. But Sophia didn't do this, and she created a child on her own. This child was not like the other angels in the heavens, so she banished him and cast him out into the abyss. Her son had no choice but to create an environment in which he could survive. So he created this physical universe and he used it as an energy source to sustain himself. Sophia watched this from the shadows and felt huge guilt. And she eventually decided to confess her mistake to the monad. She requested that the monad allow her to go down into the abyss to try to reconnect with her child. The monad agreed, but he warned that if Sophia chose to incarnate onto Earth, her memory would be wiped and she would have to give up her status and power as a goddess. He also warned her that if she made the decision to act out of line with her intuition, she would create something called negative karma. And negative karma would trigger a series of events that would not only affect her life, but also the lives of her entire lineage. Sophia was desperate to reconnect with her son, so she took the risk, but nothing could have prepared herself for the realities of life on Earth. She landed in the watery region of Gaia, and she saw poverty and old age and torture and war and sickness for the first time, and she was disgusted. And she wanted nothing to do with her son's world. She knew she had to try to blend in order to survive, so Sophia discarded her angelic form and morphed into a wandering monk. And she studied various gurus and yogis and religious leaders who were all vested in different forms of Eastern philosophies, and she learned of the two extremes in which enlightenment could be reached. She learned that people worshipped her son as a god, and they called him Yaldabaoth, and he was the god of the right-hand path. Now, the right-hand path is a way of living in which ascension comes from denial of the flesh through spiritual meditation. And enlightenment could be reached in this way, but it would be a very slow and painful process. She also learned about the left-hand path, in which enlightenment could be reached through indulgence and seeking pleasure. And it would lead her to enlightenment at a faster rate, but it was heavily shunned as being dangerous by people who were filled with fear. Sophia chose the right-hand path and almost starved herself in the process. So she was forced to give up on this particular method. But she continued to travel the watery regions of Gaia until she found a lotus tree, and she sat underneath it in the lotus position and continued to meditate there for a month. Christ watched this from above, and he was worried about the goddess, and he saw her meditation as an opportunity to help her. Christ manifested as a serpent, and he said to Sophia, "Sophia, you are thin and you are pale and you are close to death. And there are 1,000 parts of you that are already pledged to death. But life still holds on to the part of you that will always want to be in existence. Live now. The right-hand path of abstinence is far too rough and difficult. You were born to lead and embody wisdom. You still have everything that the monad could ever offer you, yet you've seen a little bit of suffering and you turn to self-loathing. Do not reject your worldly life and finish what you came here to do, and the life you experience will be glorious. Yes, there is suffering, but there is also power. That is the nature of duality. Don't you really want to experience pleasure and power, the very things that your self-denial will never ever provide? I am the spirit of life, and I will overthrow you and those like you who seek to deny pleasure as easily as a strong wind overthrows a dandelion. Complete denial of the flesh will lead to irrational and impulsive behavior that will eventually destroy you and others who follow your path. I can offer glory and pleasure and union with your child if you give up this wasteful pursuit of abstinence. Stop turning your back on your responsibilities and go and find your son, and use your authority and wisdom to ease the suffering of those in this realm if it calls you to feel remorse for them." Sophia ignored the teachings of the serpent and continued to meditate under the lotus tree. So he decided to manifest inside Sophia's mind as an angel holding a bow and arrow. And immediately, a number of daemons appeared in opposition to him, and they were also holding bows and arrows. The serpent aimed his bow and arrow at Sophia's mind in an attempt to wake her up, But Sophia focused on the illusion and turned all of the being's weapons into flowers, and they fell to the ground. Sophia then imagined a flood, and the flood washed the dead flowers away. Christ then invoked the image of three daemons, lust, passion, and libido, to deter Sophia from her meditation. But she ignored them and focused her mind on a great white light. Finally, Sophia spoke to the serpent, and she said, "Your armies are compromised of the temptations of desire, but I will conquer your armies and gain bliss by ignoring all desire. I know that these temptations will bring me away from my meditations, so I will remain committed in my post under this tree, and your armies of temptations that this world and all of their gods cannot overcome will fall when I gain enlightenment. And I will gain enlightenment through abstinence and by staying committed to my practice." The serpent replied, "Your work here under the tree will be for nothing, as you are alone and you are struggling with inner demons that no one will recognize, even if you do come to some sort of enlightenment from this practice." Sophia used all of her restraint to resist the temptation of the left-hand path, and she placed her hand on the ground to symbolize her allegiance to the right-hand path. And she declared, "The earth will be my witness. I will wander from land to land, and I will train disciples far and wide of the right-hand path." And the serpent said to her, "If you reach enlightenment and you deny your flesh fully and you allow your spirit to reside in nirvana, that place of extinction, then you have forsaken the right-hand path in your attempt to purify yourself, because you are not pure. You are a masochist. You may wish yourself to be pure, but the path of true purity is far from you. I will always be with you in your mind and in the minds of those who follow your path. I will constantly remind them of the pleasures of the world, and I will teach them that the world is more than just an illusion. It is a tangible place where they can have power and control of their lives and their destinies, but only if they choose to indulge responsibly and not abstain. You are half human, meaning that you are bound by the rules of both gods and men, light and darkness. And even as a recluse, you will not be free from my temptations." And the serpent left Sophia to meditate, and he continues his wanderings of the earth through the minds and spirits of those who dared to follow the left-hand path. And Sophia went on to create a method of perception of the real world being an illusion. And she preached the concept that life is suffering, and that suffering is caused by desire, and that suffering ceases when desire ceases. And the cessation of desire is achieved by right view, right resolve, right speech, right conduct, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. And she walked among the poverty-stricken people of the watery region of Gaia. And they all believed in this method of abstaining from the realities of the flesh in the pursuit of freedom from their suffering. And this thought process spread far and wide. Sophia's rejection of the physical world and its pleasures shows us the consequences of what happens when we deny ourselves completely. Sophia tries to be perfect, and in doing so, she creates a lopsided philosophy that neglects the necessities of enjoying life. Sophia missed an opportunity to understand one of the most powerful paradoxes in life, which is that nothing ever gets done without at least a little bit of pain and being uncomfortable. So whether we acknowledge it or not, or whether we like it or not, pleasure is what drives us and it's what makes us who we are. Achievements such as enlightenment are important, but that journey is mostly long and unenjoyable. And the portion of our life that we can actually enjoy being enlightened is only a very small percentage. So accepting this fact and accepting the serpent's teachings would have helped Sophia reach enlightenment a lot quicker. Now, a big part of incarnating into this reality is that we have the ability to experience desire. And it's something that, we must all integrate into our lives somehow. Because we are taught by society that desire is bad, what a lot of people do is they repress it. And they do this usually in, one of two ways. So they either use excessive substances, or two, they bring other people down so that they can create a false sense of superiority for themselves. So as chosen ones, number two usually happens to us. So if you've ever been in a situation where a person or a group of people are targeting you for no reason, know that they are doing it because they are repressed in some way or another. So either sexually repressed, or they're envious of you, or, something along those lines. And because they feel so much shame around these feelings that they have, they never admit it to themselves, but just know that they are getting a sort of perverted high from making other people miserable. And this is backed by science and psychology, and so on. So I just wanted to also mention that, because it's also really important that we protect ourselves. And that's what I've been looking into for the past month or so. And there are a couple of books that I have read and that I recommend you to educate yourself about this. So I've left the link in below, and I earn a small commission if you choose to buy any of the books through the links that I've provided. So please do check it out, because it will really help my channel. So do our souls choose to come back into chaos and back into heartbreak and pain over and over again to learn lessons? No. But we do come here and we must learn about duality. And we must avoid the trap that most people fall into, where our perceptions get skewed and we follow the crowd and we live life according to these lopsided philosophies, because those are one of the things that keep us in the reincarnation trap. And it's our job to learn how to cut that cycle by learning how to follow our intuition and following our unique paths, so that we can actually enjoy the life that we have here. So what are some of the specific things that we can do to actually enjoy our life and, all of the beautiful things that life has to offer? Let me know what you think in the comments. If you found this video helpful and you want to dive deeper into more subjects like this, subscribe. It's just one click. And check out my Patreon and my members for deeper analysis on this video, and for stories and ideas that are too spicy and too controversial for my main channels. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I love you, and I will see you in the next video.